You're listening to Eavesdroppin, top 10 podcasts globally.
Eavesdroppin.
Welcome, Michelle, to our anniversary episode. 1 year of Eavesdroppin. Oh my God. Where's my tambourine when you need it? Where's my tambourine?
You need your tambo for reals.
Were you going to call it a reen?
A reen. You need your reen for real.
Oh, Michelle, can you believe it? We've been doing this for a year now.
Honestly, this is longer than 99.9% of any of my Tinder flings. Really, like this is amazing. Happy birthday to us.
Happy birthday to us.
I think it's incredible.
I
do you know what?
do.
We had naysayers. We had naysayers at the beginning of this who said, oh, those girls won't last. They didn't even think we'd start.
Well,
do you remember?
Hooey to youey. And if you have stuck with us, by the way, listeners, dear lovely eavesdroppers, if you've stuck with us, guess what? You're listening to a podcast that is apparently, according to our statistician, Anna Graziano, she's going to have a title, Stats. Here it comes.
It's stat moment in time.
She means statistics.
Stat me up.
Our podcast is in the top 10% globally of what I don't know.
We don't know. We need to get to the bottom of that, but I like the idea of being able to say,
top 10.
You listen to Eavesdroppin, top 10
globally
podcasts globally.
We don't know where she found her information. It was in another language, but it's fine. She says it's happening. It's happening.
I'm taking it and running with it.
Running all the way to the bank, Michelle, to cash in that 10% of what? Nothing. So today's episode, Michelle, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be, for all of you lovely eavesdroppers who might just drop in for an episode here or there, might have listened to one and thought, oh my God, I can't bear the sound of their voices, or have been sticking with us week in, week out, then we've got a little treat because we're going to go right back to the beginning and we're going to talk about each episode briefly. And I'm going to look at the Instagram comments that we've had and just have a little rundown. How do you feel about that?
Well, the thing is, we didn't even have the Instagram going on our first one.
No.
And then it got shut down. Our first
That's right.
iteration of our Instagram got shut down because we mentioned the Q that cannot be named. And we were flagged as QAnoners.
Well, if you want to start straight away with the comments, I've got one right here, which is the second post ever that we did on our second time around account after we got deleted. It says, though somehow our account got deleted. Apologies or apologies if you have liked and followed, but please like and follow us again. We won't disappoint. See pictures above. And it's got a picture of you and I probably from about, well, I won't say how many years ago. It was a long time. We were in our 20s, I'd say, looking like this, looking like we've been run over by a bus.
We were in our 30s. We were in our 30s.
Oh, were we?
I know that for certain, yes.
So, but that wasn't our first episode because our first episode was
Crowley, the Beast of Hastings. So, you know, when I think about how naive and how green we were on our first episode, I can't even believe we've made it to a year because, first of all, we were doing it in lockdown with no microphones, no information on how to do a podcast, record a podcast, nothing. We did it over Zoom on dodgy internet connections. The production values are so low.
Who cares?
And also our format was completely different. We were reading. We're reading stories. You know, the evolution from then to now, it's quite a lot, actually. But the content is king.
Content continues to be interesting.
Yeah, Aleister Crowley.
And you know what, Michelle? I went to Hastings this weekend and I thought about that first episode a lot because, do you remember I was telling the story of the Beast of Hastings because I used to live in Hastings. And Aleister Crowley spent his final years in Hastings, but he was said to have put a curse on the town where you couldn't ever leave. But I did leave, but now I returned, and now I want to live there again. So I'm thinking,
yes,
damn you, Crowley.
But also, going right back to our first episodes, we didn't have jingles, we didn't have ditties. So the first one was, we were doing covers of...
What was the song that we did first?
Just Like Heaven.
Just Like Heaven.
The Cure.
And it was so out of time.
Honestly, I have to tell this to people who listen, because it's really not me being completely out of time. When you record, we do have a delay. So it sounds like Geordie might start singing, I chime in, and it sounds like I'm like,
So she says.
And then we had our second episode.
Is this where we go into cursed film territory?
Well, it was Halloween.
Or was it you talking about, you basically told the whole plot of The Exorcist. Is that it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Love
yeah.
that.
I gave a rundown of the whole film. But we talked about Noah Taylor and our patron saint, Ben Mendelsohn. It was our first mention of Ben.
Oh.
I actually thought, I wonder what Ben is doing now, because obviously I have slated this poor guy, basically saying he had no career after the year my voice broke. Had no idea that should have been love of my life. He's not, but he could have been.
Could have been.
Ben Mendelsohn.
Could have been. You could have been Michelle's boyfriend.
Michelle Mendelsohn could have stayed MM.
That would have worked.
He's not my boyfriend, but
Sadly.
and he does have a career.
Yeah, big one.
I did a little DuckDuckGo on him.
I'm so pleased, Michelle. I was going to ask what's Ben doing, and I'm so glad that you did. Let's hear Hang on. Before you do, there is our third post on the Instagram is a picture, a very handsome picture of the blue-eyed beast himself, Mr. Ben Mendelsohn, and it says, Mendels. Why do we talk about the great Aussie actor Ben Mendelsohn so much on a supernatural comedy podcast? Geordie and Michelle have been exploring his back catalogue since Michelle made a flippant remark about his career when the girls were discussing the brilliant series The Outsider, which is the reason why we talk about him all the time. It's a Stephen King adaptation. Really good if you haven't seen it. Whether you're a Ben fan or not, join us weekly to hear unexpected chitty chatter on Eavesdroppin. And then we have a comment from Miss Magsy, who's a friend of ours. And she's also an Australian talent agent, I believe. She says.
And I think she actually knows Ben.
Well, she says, I worked with Ben for a while.
That's right.
That's what she said.
That's right. Seriously, Miss Magsy, cannot believe you have not set up an interview between Eavesdroppin and Ben Mendelsohn. He's got a lot of things coming up. So please put us on.
I hope one's a comedy.
On the PR. No, none of them. He's a bad boy. He plays bad boys.
Bad boy for life.
We want an interview. Seriously. We're in the top 10% of global podcasts. What more could you want?
Cracking open a brown lemonade and sitting down to talk to Ben Mendelsohn. How exciting.
I know, we need to make that happen. But so when I DuckDuckGo'd him, I just went to IMDB actually. And look, he's doing a few things. So don't worry, guys. He still does have a career.
If you Google me, I'm on IMDb.
Yeah, me too.
It's for the smallest, shittiest thing I've ever done in my entire career, but I'm on there.
Me too. I mean, it has nothing about the fact that I've been a musician and had music in films and everything. No, it is for the one time when our friend Sarah asked me to be an extra on a film she was doing, because she was being a stunt woman at the time.
Right.
And she was doing this film called In the Red, I think it was called. And she needed extras. And so I went and I was an extra on the film. And that is what I'm listed for, being this dodgy extra.
You get listed on IMDb as an extra.
Maybe I had a line. I don't know. It was so long ago. I can't even remember.
Mine's for the Irish film The Flag, which I was
what?
wardrobe assistant on for one day. The Irish film The Flag, starring Pat Short. And he laughed at me because I fell over in the hotel late at night. I wasn't drunk. I was working and I was rushing from A to B. And he saw me and he fucking laughed. Oh, no offer to help me up. Thanks, Pat Short. Oh, no.
I thought you would be on IMDb for putting prosthetic limbs on people in the Mel Gibson. I thought you did makeup.
I did makeup, but not prosthetic limbs. That's an art.
Oh,
I just threw some mud at people's faces and a bit of woad on their faces, a bit of mud up their tartan kilts.
Up there, clicky-clack.
Clicky-clacks.
Up there, click-clack. Yeah, up their kilts. But did you actually meet Mel Gibson?
Of course I did. He humiliated me. Don't you remember I told you the story?
No.
Where he made a lewd comment about me.
No.
Well, do you remember I told you that all the cast used to play pranks on each other? They'd tie a piece of string around the back of their costume attached to their chair. So when people like Peter Mullen or Tommy Flanagan were called to set, it was actually usually Tommy Flanagan who was tying people up, but they'd get up and they'd run on to please Mel Gibson because they're all new actors. They hadn't really acted much before, and they'd take the chair with them.
And I should say, we are talking about Braveheart here.
Braveheart. Sometimes they would do it to the makeup ladies. Sometimes you'd find yourself being attached to your makeup box or whatever. Can't slip that past Mel. He saw it. And it was all, ha, 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 funny guys, crack on. Get moving. Come on, back on with the scene. And then one day I was kneeling and I was drifting. I was thinking, when's at lunch or something like that. And somebody was standing in front of me, and I would have assumed it would have been one of those guys, but it wasn't. It was Mel Gibson. When I looked up, everyone was quiet. That's the only reason why I knew that something was going on. I looked up and I was like, oh, Mel was standing in front of me going, no, you can't have a raise.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Humiliation.
Do you think he meant a raise, as in of his penis?
He tried to make out like I was offering to give him a blowjob.
Exactly. Yes, you can't have a raise. My penis is not going to be raised because you're down on your knees.
Mel Gibson.
Well, we want Ben. And the thing is, he is doing a few things right now.
Okay, back to Ben.
It says he's shot a new TV serial killer thriller.
Oh, my God.
Called Misanthrope.
Oh,
and
fabulous.
the blurb doesn't say much. It just says, a cop is recruited by the FBI to help track down a murderer.
Who's he?
Apparently, he's the lead cop.
Oh, I love it.
Then he's starring in a psychological thriller called
Ooh.
The Marsh King's Daughter, where he plays the Marsh King.
The Marsh King, is that not from that Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey? Hey! What was that called? That show? The True Detective. Was it not The Marsh King?
Maybe, I don't know. But they are doing like a whole new series, and he's playing the Marsh King. And basically,
Sounds bad.
It's about this guy, the Marsh King, who for years kept his young daughter, Helena, and her mother captive in the wilderness. Oh, no. It's another evil role for Ben.
Oh,
the thing is, when I think of Ben Mendelsohn, I think of him as being like that cheeky bad boy.
You two better watch out. We don't like innocents around here.
I would love to see him in a comedy. I think he would be absolutely brilliant, but now he's being typecast. It's all the evil ones. Do you know what, Ben? When you come on the show, we're going to ask you about this because I think he's a comedy genius.
Yeah, let's see.
He's been typecast. And then... Yeah, sorry. After not knowing anything about your career.
Suddenly you're his biggest fan.
Oh, I do love him. And then he's also currently filming something called Secret Invasion, which I think you talked about. It's a Marvel series for Disney+. And it's about shape-shifting Skrulls who have been infiltrating Earth for years. And look, it's got an all-star cast. So it's got Ben.
Is Ben Kingsley in that?
No, Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, okay.
And Olivia Colman is in it. And Emilia Clarke.
Cool.
Yeah, so Ben, our patron saint.
So that was The Exorcist.
Episode 2 on our Halloween, The Exorcist, cursed or non-cursed. That's when we first started talking about our love, Ben Mendelsohn. And then we did our first ever extra droppings. Now, I have to say, we haven't done one of those in so long.
No, we haven't. But now that we're the top 10%, we should do them for people who might like to sign up to the Patreon once we start it.
Yes, and who want extra content for us.
We can provide.
But that's when we did the cursed, non-cursed, horror, non-horror.
That's right. Which was basically films that were horror films that were cursed, horror films that weren't cursed, non-horror that was cursed, and non-horror that wasn't cursed. Oh, that's not very interesting. What?
Do you know what? It sounded more interesting when we were doing it. You have to go back to extra droppings. And then actually we moved on to apparitions, ghost or just a fart. That was when my friend Ben, not Ben Mendelsohn, although Ben Mendelsohn can be my friend. This is Ben Green. He first told us about when he went into like the outskirts of Canberra and saw this orange mist.
And it came out his arse.
Yeah, that was in the shape of a fox, I believe. And we ended we did end singing Edge of 17, Stevie Nicks.
Was that good?
I think so. But the thing is, I then had a little warning notification about non-copyright music.
So that's when we decided to change.
Well, no, we didn't.
No?
We did on the next episode, So Lonely by the Police.
Oh, that was atrocious. It's just me.
You did that solo.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. And that was in the Incubus Succubus episode where we talked about crazy ghost sex.
Oh, that's a good episode, actually. That's a good one.
It was a good one. And then we talked about psychics and Sylvia St. Clair when my sister went to Sylvia St. Clair
Oh, yes.
in Sydney, who was Lady Di's clairvoyant and the Master Enigma. And actually, this is season 1, episode 6. It was the first time we put the Eavesdroppin outro on.
Yay.
Eavesdroppin'.
Eavesdroppin'. Droppin'. Drop it like it's hot.
We did Dreams and Visions.
Dreams and Visions. That was a good one. What was that about?
Your friend who had the chilling dream about where her missing friend
yes.
was.
That was an Extra Droppins, wasn't it?
It was an Extra Droppings.
Yeah.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, she dreamt where her friend had gone missing and she had this recurring dream for the whole period of time that she was missing of what eventually transpired was where her friend was being kept, her friend's body was being kept.
Yeah, it was amazing, actually. Yeah. That was really amazing. After that, we did our Nixium episode.
Oh, that's when shit got real.
Shit got real. And that was season 1, episode 8. And we talked about that middle-aged sex cult guru, Keith Raniere, and he headed up the cult Nixium. And I actually did a little duck-duck-going on where he is now.
Oh, interesting. Hopefully still in prison, Michelle.
Well, he got 120 years, right?
Good.
But he appeared in a Brooklyn court via Zoom in July this year, right? And he was ordered to pay nearly $3.5 million to his victims, which I would have hoped he would have been ordered to pay more, but no. And then, look, it was really interesting because in terms of the payouts, it was reported that the largest chunk of money, over $500,000, went to a victim who was only identified as Camilla. She said at the trial that she met him when she was 13 in Mexico. And then when she was 15 and still a virgin, he raped her. And then he had sex with her 2 sisters. And all 3 of them apparently got pregnant by him, but he forced all 3 of them to get abortions. So it's really fucked up.
It is fucked up. And do you know what I'm thinking? Sorry to interrupt you, but I can't stop thinking about the woman who was one of his many girlfriends, who was completely sucked in, who got cancer and never got any treatment because she was with him. So he essentially hastened her death. And she was the one that took them all to get their pregnancies terminated. She was on first name terms with all of the clinic people.
And obviously she was brainwashed to fuck by him. So she was just acting as his proxy. But it's just really, the whole thing's really sad. Look, you should listen to the episode if you want to learn more.
What number is that, Michelle?
That's season 1, episode 8. In court, he's so fucking deluded, right? He wanted all the nude photos and all the videotaped confessions that all these women were coerced into doing. And, remember we talked about it being called collateral,
yes.
Right? He wanted it all back.
Oh.
Just wanted it all back.
Are you serious? What?
Yes. I know. He's so fucking deluded. And then apparently, after he said he wanted all the collateral back, he then went on to say he never handled any of the collateral, never saw it, never knew anything about it, but he wants it all back. And then he says in court, I don't know who any of these victims are, and I don't know what they're asking for, and I don't know what they're talking about.
But I'd like them back, please.
Yes, but I want their nudes and I want their titty videos back, where they're saying all of this, apparently saying weird lies as collateral. Like, oh, I cheated on my husband and
sexually abused by their fathers, etc., which wasn't necessarily true. Yeah.
No, so that's the latest on Keith.
Gosh. Okay. Well, he's a piece of work, isn't he? Here we go. Here's a Keith Raniere one. Have you listened to the Nixium Sex Cult episode of Eavesdroppin? Head over to Eavesdroppin on Apple Podcasts, etc. And then the comedy podcast says, sold. I love foul-mouthed podcasts.
Too fucking right. That's fucking us. Then we went on to do an episode called False Memories where we looked at the Mandela effect. And then the next one after that was the Law of Attraction, where we talked about, well, I talked about Esther Hicks and Abraham. And look, I still love the message of Esther Hicks and Abraham. I actually would love to do another Law of Attraction episode because we had one of our most heartfelt responses to that episode from a listener who at the time was going through a bit of a difficult patch, and in the middle of the night she got up and she just wanted something to listen to, and she'd seen on your Facebook that you were doing a podcast and she thought, fuck it, I'll give it a listen. And it just happened to be this Law of Attraction. And she sent the most amazing message to us that just, it really gave us a lift at the time. Just knowing that somebody listened and really took something away from it that was positive and uplifting. And then the episode after that was probably one of the episodes that I am proudest of.
Which is that?
It's season 1, episode 11, Hometown Murders, when you realise your mate is a murderer. Yeah, because I think that's when, obviously, our friend and researcher, Al Teggett, it really, he got in touch with us about that episode. And, because he had a connection with this topic. And, we're all Canberra people. I think that was, for me, one of the episodes where we turned a bit of a corner because, we really talked about something that had been a personal situation for both of us.
Both experienced, had quite strong memories of what happened around that time when we were teenagers and our experiences with said murderer.
Yeah, David Pike, who murdered Jenny in her flat. And it was, for me, it was really quite a moving story, but also kind of funny because, we were talking about dumb shit that happened to us in, when we were just teenagers.
Yeah.
But, again, we had a lot of comment and a lot of response to that episode. Yeah, for me, I think it really put us on more of our true crime path in the future, and I really love that. It's up there as one of my personal favourite episodes. Why are you crying?
Drop it. So that was a good one, Michelle, but didn't that spur on another extra droppings after that?
No, it didn't, because the next one after that was our NY Eavesdroppin, where we were saying goodbye to 2020.
Is that the night bus episode? I'll never forget that story. Oh
God. Oh, is that when I talked about the stinky pussy juice?
Oh. She said it again, listeners. I'm sorry about that. Bloody hell.
I know, that was terrible. Yeah, we did have quite a few comments on that one. And then, look, we do a new season every year. So we flipped over into 2021 and season 2. And our first episode was one of my least favourite topics, but actually I've grown to love it, the fairies. And we talked about the Hulda folk, we talked about trolls, we talked about the demented Swedish film Border, mole people, and Doreen Virtue. Yeah, we talked about Doreen Virtue.
Doreen Virtue was the angel lady, but then she changed and decided to become born-again Christian and had to completely denounce everything she'd ever done that made her so much money beforehand. But the socials for this, Michelle, there is a social media for this. It's one of your collages, and it says, did you listen to the Fairies episode of Eavesdroppin? We cover Icelandic Huldafolk and other sprites and fairies, but we don't neglect our lovely Ben Mendelsohn and have a chat about The Year My Voice Broke Again, demented Swedish film Border, and an unusual knickers over underpants item of sports clothing from the girls' school days, scungies. Why not listen? And we have Tamira saying she loved it. And we've got a picture of The Year My Voice Broke with a very, very young cast. Now, you recently said I can't remember the lady's name that's in that film, the girl with the blonde hair, Lowena something.
Lowen
Miranda.
Lowen Carmen.
Carmen, not Carmen Miranda. Okay.
No, Lowen Carmen.
You said she didn't have a career anymore, but I hear that she is a musician in LA. A friend of ours went to see her.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, there you go. She's got a career. Sorry to everyone who I'm just basically slamming. I live in a bubble. That's how it goes.
So that was that episode. That was the
Yeah.
Fairies. That was episode 1. Then what did we do? Was it Q?
It was QAnon. And this is when we got shut down by Instagram, who basically went, fuck you. You guys are QAnoners. They didn't even hear the episode. I actually remember at the time I went to Instagram to appeal their decision. They basically slammed the book in my face. No. So we had to start a new Instagram account.
Yeah.
But I think actually it was better because that's when you started getting into your element with our video.
Yeah. Well, the social media post for this one, though, has 3 pictures. One is the shaman. Is that what he was called? The guy who broke in.
The QAnon shaman.
One is...
Who is looking like Jamiroquai.
Yes, he does look like Jamiroquai. And then there's the ladies of V, the famous 80s...
Oh, love that.
lizard people-based science fiction TV show. And then there's a lovely picture of Ben Mendelsohn as the Queen's dad from the film, the one about the stuttering
The
king.
King's Speech.
No, because he's the
King's
king in
Speech.
this. And he wasn't the king in that. No, the Crown. No.
He wasn't in the ground.
Well, he wasn't in the King's Speech. Was he? No, that was Colin Firth.
He was Prince Philip. Oh, okay. No.
No, we're wrong. But he is dressed as... Oh, it's the Darkest Hour. He was...
Darkest Hour.
Sorry, guys. Now, it says here, oh, be careful how you hashtag this one. Episode 2 of 2021 was all about a certain right-wing fanatical conspiracy theory, but also had a peep into Ben Mendelsohn's back catalogue and vintage sci-fi series V. Who's alive? Does Hilary C. really run a pizza shop side hustle? Is the Queen a lizard? Tune in. And we've had no comments about that one.
So for anyone who has listened to our later episodes and where we often bring up Comet Ping Pong, this was the episode because that's all about Pizzagate. So that's why we're a little obsessed with Comet Ping Pong. But then we moved on to Lights in the Sky. So
Yes.
that's when I talk about the snow glow and all those crazy lights. Do you know what? Just recently I saw weird lights in the sky here.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. We
Again.
are at altitude, and I just think we are a hotspot because where we are, we used to be Africa.
Oh,
Yeah, Switzerland, the landmass where we are, is very, very billions of years ago. We were Africa. Then it all got melded back together. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. I think we're a hotspot.
okay, maybe you are. It did say on the social media post about that, which was one of the first ones we did for the rehashed Instagram page. It did say that you had seen strange lights in the sky after a flute of bubbly or 2. But you've seen them since, so maybe it's not that crazy.
No. Then we did an extra droppings, but after that we did again one of my favorite episodes.
This is from an eavesdropper who has stuck with us from the very beginning and who is probably listening today. So hello, Linda. It's called
The Other C Word. And it was all it's a real life cancer journey story.
and it's so inspirational.
It is. Linda got in touch and she wrote this incredible from the heart story. And again, this is one of the episodes I'm proudest of because I hope she liked the way we talked about her journey. I hope so.
I think she did, yeah.
It was really inspirational. We had so many people get in touch, just sharing their own stories of people in their family who had gone through a cancer journey. Some survived, some didn't. But I feel like everybody has been touched by someone who's had cancer in their life. It's such a prevalent thing. And, I feel really privileged that Linda entrusted us with her story and felt that we could, share it with the world in an eavesdropping way.
Thank you, Linda. And you know what? After that, Linda has actually spoken at least once, if not more, publicly at forums and not workshops, but, at events. That's the road she needs to be on, I think, because her story is amazing. And the social media was inspired by her joyous story, the uplifting, side of it, because that's where I did the dancing in front of the TV to It's as Serious as Cancer. And that's why rhythm is a dancer. Baywit, it's a baywit. No shirt and thong. What a ding dong. Baywit, it's a baywit. Big gut hanging out. Giddy, 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 gas. Oh, I don't even know, yes. What the fuck? So what's next, Moosh?
Well, we did another Hometown Murders. It's our part 2. And this is where I believe our favourite, Hazel the Psychic Real Estate Agent, had her first outing in the podcast, because you gave an account of a hometown murder in your hometown. It was the Kites. Hazel the Psychic Real Estate Agent had a first-hand account for us, and it was amazing.
She did. And that was, what was that about? Oh, because she had experienced, the story, the murderer
Of the Kites.
Was actually
The older couple who were bludgeoned to death in their home.
Hazel, the Psychic Real Estate, had a first-hand experience of her. And actually she had to go and identify the murderer in the police station.
But one of the things I remember most about that episode was that she was sneaking a durry round the back.
Good on you, Hazel.
She was having a durry. So, yeah.
I don't have any social media for that one. All I've got here, I've got Aidan Gillen. And it said, a case of mistaken identity. Aidan Gillen, weird looking or handsome in a creepy way. Michelle and Geordie discussed this and an inspiring tale of survival on today's Eavesdroppin, the other C word. Oh, that was for Linda's. And the only comments we had from that was, Planetarium says, I would. And Girl Traveller, which is you, Michelle, says, I think I was thinking of Alan Cumming.
Yes, I think so. Can I just cycle back to the cancer episode? I just wanted to mention Jen, actually, because my mom, Jen, she is a cancer survivor. And it was, for me, really a moving thing to talk about her cancer story. I'm not sure she appreciated it too much, but just wanted to give a shout out to Jen, because she has become a regular on the podcast. We talk about her a lot with the fury of a million chooks behind her. Jen
the hen.
Jen the hen. She beat cancer, and every day I'm grateful that for the miracle of Big Pharma and, all the treatments they have, even though it's a fucking shocker when people are going through it. Yeah, it's, people do survive cancer, and big up to you, Jen.
True, Jen, true. True, Jen, true.
We did an episode on the Church of Satanic Panic.
Yes.
Where we talked about Anton LaVey. You know more about him than me. We talked about the Night Stalker.
Yep.
Bimini Bon Boulash. My God.
Anton LaVey.
But then we went on to Love Gone Wrong. Would you marry a murderer?
Uh-huh.
Would you marry a murderer?
I wouldn't marry a murderer, Michelle. Would you?
No.
Love Gone Wrong. Right, I found it. It's me dancing to the theme from The Love Boat.
Oh, my God. And we got in trouble from Instagram for that, too, because we nicked the theme for The Love Boat.
We did. But it says, new episode out today, Love Gone Wrong. Listen in, etc. And that's all it says. And I've got a comment from Yannicka Bailey, who was last week in her tubble drinking a cocktail with a pussy on her lap. Says here, she says, love your collection of jumpsuits, plus can't wait to hear the episode. So that was the comment that we got back from there.
Oh, well, Yannicka Bailey, she's been long time eavesdropper. She's with us. She's been with us since day one, bless her. And, we're always so grateful for people who stick with us. So thank you, Yannicka.
So would you marry a murderer?
Well, it was our Valentine's Day episode. Yeah, and we talked about Lorena Bobbitt, Snip Snip.
Snip, snip.
Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, Joseph Fritzl and his dodgy basement, Night Stalker, and of course Ben Mendelsohn. So,
far out. What a collection.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing, would you marry a murderer? I guess if you don't know they're a murderer when you marry them, then it's not your fault. But if they're a psychopath, they're probably lying to you because they're lying to everyone. So...
But wasn't that the episode where there was a lady who actually actively tracked down a murderer and she married him while he was in prison? I mean, the Night Stalker had loads of people after him.
Yeah, they all do. They all do. There are ladies that write to people in prison, you know, saying, I'll marry you.
Yeah.
Love you. I mean, God, they just want to be chopped up into pieces. And then we moved on to our Mythical Creatures episode.
The reason why we had to do a Mythical Creatures episode is, number one, I'm really into them. And number two, Hazel, the real estate agent, had an experience with somebody who was a mythical creature.
Yes, that is correct.
And I've got myself talking to her about it on the social media, and I've had to pause her while I'm being filmed. And it says, new episode out today, all about strange and mythical creatures plus other nonsense. And then the comments are, the camera person it's from Eavesdroppin. The camera person is a child, so apologies. Where's Geordie's head? So I've had to have a briefing with the camera people, the small camera people.
I.e. your children.
Put a whole meter above my head in future because they keep cutting me off. We've got Mrs. Hannah Huggis saying, I love the camera work, adds to the appeal. I've got Dr. Banana, who is actually the sound engineer and composer for this series. I don't think you're paying them enough. And that is it.
Oh, well, we talked about Bigfoot. Hazel, the psychic real estate agent, shared her story about mermaids.
I liked that episode.
Yeah, we talked about unicorns and we found out what unicorn means on social media.
What does that mean?
The threesome, where you find like the person who wants to have a threesome with you.
I don't remember that.
Oh, keep up, Geordie. And then we talked about, oh my God, that was when you confused me because you kept talking about Tom Hardy Cox. And I'm like, but his name's just Tom Hardy. Why is it a Hardy Cox? I'm so confused. And we talked about Charles Bronson, the UK prisoner, Charles Bronson, not the actor.
Charles Hardy Cox. What's his name? Tom Cox. No.
Tom Hardy.
That guy played him. That would have been why we were talking about him.
That's the connection.
The strong man. The strong man. Yeah.
And then we talked about one of our favourite topics, which we haven't actually done much of, but
witches.
Yes.
Was it witches? Yes.
Yes,
good.
we talked about witches.
Oh, that was the episode when we talked about the cage in St. Oswyth in Essex. Oh, that's a good story.
Yeah. And we talked about Christy Bamu, which we talked about recently.
I didn't like that.
Yeah. And the mystery torso in the Thames and all sorts. Yeah, so we did have a little update.
It says, am I a witch? Are you? Which witch is which? And then we've got some comments saying, you is a white witch, and that's from Erin Thompson. Tiff Oben says, I also love John Leguizamo as Tybalt. We must have been talking about...
We did in the previous episode. Yes, we did. We did indeed.
And we've got Yanni who says, witch boy 100%.
So after witches, we went on to True Crime Part 1, where we talked about Melissa Caddick. Now, this actually has been one of our most downloaded episodes.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And I did a little duck going on what the latest is on Melissa Caddick. And just to give you a quick background on Melissa, she set up the finance company called Malaver. She ripped off all her friends and family for more than 30 million, and she, along with all the money, disappeared, and then a rotting foot was found on Boonda Beach. And now people believe that she's dead, but I believe she just cut off her foot. You believe she's dead. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think the biker's got her.
Well, who knows? But the latest is, obviously, she's still missing, but the media attention has been around her husband, hairdresser Anthony Koletti, because he recently released an album called Raid under the band name Pause Off. And I'm not even joking.
What? Balls off.
Pause. Pause as in like cat pause. Balls off. Balls off.
Balls out.
Balls out.
Pause off. My God.
Off. And look, so I went onto Spotify because I wanted to hear this album.
How good is it?
I could not stop laughing. Honestly, it's like Flight of the Conchords.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
No. It's like Flight of the Conchords did Melissa Caddick concept album, but shit.
Oh,
It's so
okay.
shit. It's so terrible because it's not meant to be a joke, but it's really funny.
Oh,
so
jeez.
it starts with this song called Introduction. And you hear Anthony, he's talking over this like super shit track. And he says, November 11, 2020. This is a true account of what happened on the day of the raid. And then he goes
my
on,
God.
parental guidance recommended. And then there's a song called Good Morning, and it's got this like super shit club beat going on behind it. And then Anthony Koletti is putting on this like woman's voice,
What?
which is meant to be like an Australian cop, a policewoman, saying, "Ah, nice pajamas. Did you just wake up?"
Oh, my God.
It's so funny. It's
Is
a
this
joke.
some kind of, what's the actor's name who does all the like lunatics and Chris?
Oh my
Chris
God,
Lilly.
Chris
It sounds
Lilly.
like a Chris Lilly sketch.
It could be. It is so hilarious. And it just gets worse because the thing is, it's basically the whole album is Anthony Koletti denying that A, Melissa Caddick did anything wrong, B, that she's been set up, and C, that he had nothing to do with it. It's just fucking
God.
bizarre. And then he went on 7 News Spotlight, which was his program, because he went on to say that he just doesn't believe that the love of his life ripped off friends and families and family members, even though there's like loads of evidence proving that she's a crook. And he reckons he doesn't know what a Ponzi scheme is. Honestly, the whole thing is comedy gold.
Well, the guy needs some cash, so he's got to do what he's got to do, right?
Well, he got 50,000 for appearing
How?
on it.
Oh, on the show.
Yeah, on the Channel 7 show. And
Okay.
yeah, he just keeps going on saying that he's been set up, and Melissa was basically hounded into either going missing or being murdered because the ASIC and the police framed her. Even though there's so much evidence showing that she just embezzled all the money. So
Right.
that is the latest update on Melissa Caddick and Anthony Koletti.
So for our socials that week, it was my foot that you said looked like a corpse foot.
It did. It looked like a corpse foot, and you didn't even put makeup on it. It was just...
Hopefully that was just the filter. But it says, latest Eavesdroppin episode, Con Artists, out Wednesday. Michelle has a fascinating ongoing story, and it will be a 2-parter. It's still ongoing. It's like 4 parts now. Listen in wherever you get your ear candy and share with friends. Now we've got Tamira, who has tagged someone. Chef Sean makes his first appearance, who is the ghost hunter from New South Wales. He says, where you reckon Melissa's body? And then we have a little chit chat with him about what's he up to, and he really wants to know what we think. So he needs to listen to the bloody podcast. I think, Sean, is what you need to do.
Oh, I think he did. I think he did in the end. So then on the next episode, we did another true crime episode. Part two, where we looked at Leslie Manukian and Anna Delvey. So Anna Delvey, this is season 2, episode 12. She's the fake heiress who scammed everyone into believing she was this, rich German heiress. And she, in the end, went to jail. She was sentenced to 4 to 12 years in prison, fined $24,000 in order to pay $200,000 back to the people she scammed. But she only served just under 4 years and was released on good behaviour in February. And since then, I did a little duck going on her. She went straight back on Instagram. She put photos of her drinking champagne out of this fancy clawfoot bathtub, just living it up.
Why not a tubble?
Why not a tubble? But the authorities saw her Instagram, and she's now, or I think she's now, back in jail because US Immigration and Customs basically ruled that she should go back into custody because they said, looking at your Instagram, we can see that you have not been rehabilitated. And that she was likely to reoffend to keep her lifestyle.
What a shady lady.
She is a shady lady. Basically, there was some research into, I didn't do this research, it was the ABC News. So apparently she was still being held, and that they were sort of deciding whether or not she should be deported. However, a search of ICE which is the official government detaining government body, someone did a search, not me.
No.
And there were no results for Sorokin, which is Anna Delvey's real name. And also, she was meant to be held in Bergen County Jail in the States, and apparently there was no one held there under that name. But her Instagram has shown no activity since March.
Has she been bumped off?
Well, no, I just think she's probably in jail. Maybe they've had to put her under a different name because of all the media heat around her.
Uh-huh.
But the Netflix series is going ahead. Julia Garner, who is excellent, she's in Ozark. Okay. She's the curly blonde one. She's fantastic. She's playing Anna Delvey. And if you're wondering whether or not Anna Delvey's going to get any cash from Netflix series, no, because the court ruled that she was not allowed to
She
profit.
mustn't.
So that's the update on Anna Delvey.
So the next episode after that was Talking to the Dead.
No.
Talking to the Dead. Yes, I've got here before Hoarders. I've got latest episode out Wednesday. We discussed Talking to the Dead. Find out new ways to chat to your dearly departed Liberace or Gandhi. So we're talking about automatic writing, Ouija board apps, ghost hunters, magic 8 balls get mentioned.
Oh,
Talking to the Dead.
yes.
Yeah.
And the Japanese telephone
box,
Yeah,
exactly.
Where after the earthquake, people were talking to their loved ones. Oh, that was so sad, actually.
Yeah, that was a sad one. And then we do Hoarders, which was quite a good one, actually. I did enjoy the Hoarders episode.
That was a request from my sister Steph, who, again, over the last year, she's been listening faithfully every episode. Same with Mum. Actually, when I said to Jen, Mum, it's been a year, she's like, oh, have I been listening to you for a year?
Dedicated.
Yeah, but it was almost like she was annoyed that she'd wasted a year of her life. But
Oh, yeah, listening to us.
oh, year of eavesdropping.
So Hoarders for me was quite a good episode because my husband is a mild hoarder. And as you know, Michelle, at the moment, I'm working as a declutterer. But I can't tell anyone locally because if they walk past my driveway, they'll go, oh, the hoarder house.
No, they'll be like, we're not hiring her.
Well, they have no idea how hard I work on a daily basis, minute by minute, just trying to de-hoard the hoarding that happens in this around me.
Oh, God. Oh, and you know what? The hoarder episode was where we talked about the cat hoarder who kept the dead cats in the fridge and they all turned to liquid. Do you remember? That was a juice dropper.
That was a juice dropper. There was a poo hoarder, somebody who had to eat poo. There was a couple of ladies. There was a lady that looked like a mannequin.
There was
in her
Rat
house,
Man.
under a pile of rubbish. Rat Man, the brothers. Oh, there was Grey Gardens, Little Edie, Big Edie, Collier Brothers. Declan O'Rourke was mentioned.
Oh,
Lunatics,
God.
Chris Lilly, his hoarder was mentioned. Joyce Jeffries, Sally Honeycheck, the Honeycheck sisters. Yeah, that was a good episode, that one.
Yeah, no, that was a good one.
The next one was a big favourite of mine.
Poltergeists.
London poltergeists, in fact, because I have been constantly fascinated by the story of the Enfield haunting. So for this, we got to talk about it. Plus Shirley Hitchens and Thornton Heath. Shirley Hitchens was the Battersea poltergeist, and Thornton Heath was one that you picked up from the 50s or the 40s even. I can't remember, Michelle.
Yeah, they had the little porcelain dog that got smashed.
Well, not just that. I remember that she manifested jewellery in her hand after visiting a store.
She did. Reportedly. So I wonder.
Who
wonder
knows?
how that all went down. Then we talked about a really personal story. It was Australia's forced adoption scandal. And anyone who's been listening knows that Geordie was adopted. But the really amazing thing about this was that after we talked about this, it all blew up in the UK media because a similar forced adoption scandal happened. So, yeah, we were in the zeitgeist on that one.
We were. We also seemed to talk about the Duke of Edinburgh died as well around that time. So he was mentioned.
Oh, my gosh, that's right. Yes. And Paul Ritter.
Yes, that's right. Paul Ritter, fantastic actor, passed away at that time. So sad. That was a good episode, though. That's always going to be one of my favourites.
Well, it's very personal to you.
So now we know that it's Farrow versus Allen.
Right.
That
so
was
after
popular with the YouTubers, not
Oh man, that was when we first got trolled on YouTube. Honestly, that was a milestone for us, our first trolling. So, and then we moved on to Potluck Party, where we talked about ghost sex and beauty gadgets and all sorts.
Okay, so now we're music. Yes, music.
Makes it people.
I'm playing a mandolin. Michelle's in a bikini. Don't know why.
I didn't want to say at the time, but it was right in the heart of lockdown, and I had managed to escape off to the middle of nowhere on a tropical island. But I didn't want to say it at the time because I just didn't want people to feel, like here I was gallivanting around in a bikini, literally on a tropical island, and everyone else was locked down in four walls.
It got a lot of views, this one, I tell you. And because this one was the first time I got to hear that heartbreaking story of the soundtrack of your heartbreak to Nothing Compares to You at Victoria Bus Station.
Nothing compares to you. My first true love, leaving him at Victoria Bus Station. My God. Oh, that's so hilarious. In hindsight, I mean, it was so traumatic at the time, but in hindsight, when you take the piss out of it, it really sounds pathetic. But yeah, Jen loved this episode because she really enjoyed hearing our story and our journey of our friendship and how music was interwoven. And yeah, she said it really touched her. So
well, we must have also reached our host in Norway, Oslo, Norway, Martin Kvamme, because he has replied on the post by saying, just heard the pod. Let me know if you're in town. Still possible to do ice skating, sledge riding, or just get drunk at a karaoke bar in Oslo.
Do you know what? We have to go back to Oslo. One of the best times. One of the best
so
times.
Good.
And Martin, if you're still with us, if you've stuck with us, we miss you.
We do. We miss you, Martin. Okay, so what's next?
Then we moved on to psychic detectives.
Okay, the head there. Psychic detectives. Are they helpful when solving crimes, or are they just a pain in the ass for law enforcement?
Well, anyone who listened to our episode a couple of weeks ago, we did talk about Thea Johansson, and this was when we talked about Lynn Dawson, Madeleine McCann,
Alison
Nancy
Dubois.
Webber, Alison Dubois. It was a good one, actually. It was so fun. And then we did talk about Thea Johansson because obviously her psychic predictions on Madeleine McCann were quite shit. So yeah, psychic detectives. Again, that was another request from my sister who's obsessed with psychic detectives.
But then, don't we go off for a missing person? In a helicopter?
So we talked about when you were trapped in Russia.
I wasn't trapped. I wasn't there. I didn't go to Moscow because St. Petersburg, I'd been to St. Petersburg the week before due to go to Moscow, but then there was the Dubrovka siege, and that's why I didn't. So luckily I wasn't trapped there. That would have been a nightmare.
Well, we talked about Charlie Haupt, and he was a guy who actually went missing in Zermatt. I mean, it was local scandal here, and he's never been seen since. He's now been declared dead. And I did a little DuckDuckGoing.
Yes. Any news?
Not too much more than all of his heirs have sold their shares to the brother Christian. And yeah, it's all been wrapped up very quickly and very neatly. So if he is out there hiding with his girlfriend.
Did she go missing as well?
Yeah, she did. If he's out there, if they're both out there living it up on some, private island in Russia, like, good luck to you, because the whole world thinks you're dead.
So they're partying with Melissa Caddick.
Yes, they are, and Elvis and everyone else.
Having a ball. So then it was cleaning?
It was the cleaning episode. Do you know what? I love that cleaning episode.
We discover that Michelle loves sponges.
I do. I love cleaning. And in fact, do you know what? I recently watched a series called Maid. Have you heard about this?
No.
So it's with Andie MacDowell and her real life daughter, Margaret Qualley. Uh-huh. So Margaret Qualley plays this single mum who...
Maid, like an M-A-I-D.
M-A-I-D, yes. We're talking about cleaning, Geordie.
That's right. I thought the bed was made.
No, M-A-I-D. And yeah, it's all about, this woman who has been emotionally abused and tries to leave her husband with her child. It's really heartbreaking, actually. But yeah, definitely worth a watch if you've got nothing else. Andie MacDowell, She plays the crazy mother.
Well, talking about good television, of course, when Line of Duty's last series came out, we were inspired to do an episode.
Ben Copper's episode.
Oh, I love that one. Talking about
the real life inspiration behind Line of Duty. So we looked at Jean-Charles de Menezes, Jill Dando, Stephen Lawrence, Christopher Older, Daniel Morgan. That was, a really good deep dive.
Very twisty, turny. And I think even as I was telling you, especially the Daniel Morgan story, which is so twisty, turny and over so many years, I think you were getting confused, which is a shame because it is such an important story because of the involvement with the media and the deep, deep level of corruption within our Metropolitan Police Force. Unfortunately, it's happened.
Yeah.
It's out there.
Yeah.
But that was that one.
And then we moved on to our friendship episode and relationships. Yeah. It was one of our lighter episodes. I think we thought after all our dark episodes, we had to do something light.
Sometimes one needs a break, don't they, Michelle?
Well, absolutely. Which was then we went on to looking at near-death experiences, which there was that series, Netflix series, Surviving Death. And we looked at all sorts of things and space clearing actually as well.
Death cleaning, Swedish death cleaning.
We looked at the woman who was in the kayak and was dead for nearly an hour and then came back. So really great stuff. And then we moved on to The Great Pretenders and Samantha Azzopardi. Like, first of all, there was lots of great social media of you with pretend dildo, which I absolutely loved. A meerkat pretended, masquerading as a dildo. And that was when you talked about Gail Newland, who tricked her best friend into thinking that she was a man and she was basically having sex with her with a strap-on.
Yeah.
And I remember Jen knew what a strap-on was. I said, Mum, do you know what a strap-on is? She's like, yes, of course. But Samantha Azzopardi, and look, I actually did a little update on where she is now. So she was jailed in May this year after pleading guilty to, child stealing, pretending she's a serial liar, pretending to be someone else, theft, obtaining things by deception. And because she'd spent so long in parole, she was in jail. She was immediately eligible for parole at the time of her sentence. Mm-hmm. But when she went into appeal to be released early, but weirdly, and this was a couple of months ago, it was in Victoria in a county court. She had her appeal all lined up and then she just didn't turn up. But anyway, her lawyer just said, sorry, the appeal's not going ahead. So that was the latest. It's all a bit fucked up. So yeah, that's where it is with Samantha Azzopardi.
Well, then we moved on to the Eavesdroppin, first Eavesdroppin that we ever did, which was a combo of things like the West Hall UFO incident. There's a floating pool that we discussed. Colonic irrigation gets talked about. Hoverboards. Mystery explosion in Sydney. Fake meat. Aliens.
Yeah.
Vertigo.
Yeah.
Gareth Southgate even gets a mention.
Well, you talked about the fat lady whose ticket got lost in her rolls of flab.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that caught my eye as I was walking past the newsagent.
Oh, yes. Fake news. And then we talked about in season 2, episode 28, the UK cat killer. Now, that was something that was really disturbing for a lot of our listeners.
It was a bit kind of, it turned some people off. They couldn't listen. They wouldn't go
Juice
there. Juice dropper. Because no one wants to hear about animals being hurt. And then if they could handle that, then they had to hear you talking about the Piggy Palace. Was that episode? Yeah, that wasn't good. Robert Picton, Canada's worst serial killer. He's not nice.
Then we moved on to Scotty from marketing, Hillsong, the Q we can't mention. We did another episode on psychic detectives, reincarnation, communicating with the dead. We did more episodes on UFOs. We did atom bombs. God, do you remember Marilinga?
And the dreadful situation that the world is in thanks to all the testing that they did in the Bikini Atoll. That's worth a listen. Yeah, so there's been quite a few. We have to wrap it up now because we've been rabbiting on for too long. But
I know.
We do feel that everybody has been listening anyway to the more recent ones. And more than anything, Michelle and I just want to say thank you to all you eavesdroppers out there for sticking with us and for providing content.
Yeah. I mean, we couldn't have got to a year without all of the fantastic comments and support from all our listeners. And, we are thrilled that people are enjoying Eavesdroppin'. And we hope that everyone will continue for the next year of eavesdropping. And we love when you share your stories.
Yes, so any more interesting ideas for stories, please do get in touch with us, because we're open, as you can see by that vast array, that melange of different stories that we've just discussed. Anything from witches to aliens to colonic irrigation to friendship and music. It's all there to be discussed.
Thank you. Thanks for helping us celebrate our first birthday. Here's to more birthdays to come.
More birthdays to come. Thanks once again to all you eavesdroppers. Happy day to you. Happy day to me.
And you know what, Geordie? Thank you. Thanks for being my eavesdropping co-host.
Well,
it's been a
you,
ride.
Michelle. It has been a ride. But we're not over yet, Mish. We're going to keep going forward. And you know what, Michelle? Whatever you do and whatever I do, we've just got to keep
Eavesdropping.
Eavesdroppin'.